Hi everybody, welcome back. Steve the Floor Plan Man here. You joined me on site today, so excuse the ad hoc setup, but I wanted to get this on camera whilst it was fresh in mind. I'm actually on site with a local independent estate agent, and they were asking me questions about trying to cut costs, specifically when it came to property photos. Now, when it comes to property photos, they are top tier when it comes to your property listing. Obviously, floor plans being the second most requested asset on a property listing by consumers. So people aren't going to get to see your floor plans if your property photos aren't up to scratch. And with smartphones and their cameras getting ever more impressive, is it something that you can do yourself? Can you take property marketing photos on your smartphone? Let's discuss it. Professional camera equipment is expensive, and the time it takes to learn to use them properly isn't insignificant. However, this doesn't mean that you can't use your smartphone to take professional looking photos. Now, let me firstly caveat this by saying that taking photos yourself with a smartphone will take investment from yourself. Firstly, it can still cost you money. You may want to take the photos with your smartphone, but then you'll still need to touch them up afterwards. Now, hiring someone to edit the images afterwards is ultimately going to be cheaper than getting someone in to take the photos right from the word go. But it can start adding up, especially if you want to start doing things like removing bins or maybe removing the toothbrushes from the sink that you forgot when you were staging the property. Now, this can be between £8 and £20 per image, depending on what you have done to it. Now, if you're looking to do things on the cheap, then time is what you're going to need to invest. Investing time in learning how to take photos properly, as well as editing them. Now, it's not just about taking a great photo. Even if you're a professional photographer, you would need to edit your photos afterwards. So learning to edit photos is equally as important as staging and taking the photos right the first time. Now, learning to use photo editing software can be a daunting prospect, but we live in an age of AI. They can take you through step by step on how to change the sky, for example. With today's AI, you can do it pretty much with just one click. Now, obviously, there is going to be a learning curve no matter how you go about it. But let's be honest, you're not trying to take photos to appear in a glossy Sunday magazine. And the edits that you're going to be making are quite similar from property to property. So there's only a certain number of things that you will need to learn moving forwards. Now, as I said before, you could use a professional to post-edit your images afterwards, but they're only going to be using the same tips and tricks that you can learn yourself in some free photo editing software. What you're paying for really is their time and expertise of being able to do the job quickly. Now, you can make the post-editing job for yourself a lot easier by taking good photos. So, how do you best take a photo using your smartphone? Now, there'll be an option in your phone settings to be able to take raw images. Raw images contain unprocessed and uncompressed data straight from your camera's sensor. It just means that your camera is going to be getting more information in the image file. So when it comes to post-processing, you've got more things that you can play with. You're able to get more out of your final image. So make sure that you choose a raw format photo. Now, you should always make sure to take your image in landscape, and what's really important is make sure that you take the photo at about waist height, about 4 feet or just over a metre, give or take. This means that it will guard against distortions from the walls that your camera lens may get, and it'll also open up the room and make it look much bigger. Now, if you think about it, trying to take the photo at waist height and trying to keep the image level is a little bit of a pain in the backside. Trying to hold the camera down and trying to keep things level is actually really difficult. So save yourself a little bit of time and effort, get yourself a tripod, pretty cheap off of Amazon. That will also mean that you can strap it in, you can stand back, you can look at the image that you're taking, and you can be sure that it will be nice and level as well. Once you've got the right position, make sure that you take multiple photos from that position. The light might be changing through the window, for example. So take a few moments to take multiple photos. You'll thank yourself later down the line. Now, your photos should include one of the front of the property and one in each of the main rooms of the property. Also, one looking out into the garden, as well as from the back or the side of the garden, looking back to the property. Now, before you take any photos of the property, you're going to need to stage the property, i.e. make sure that it looks like a show home or as close as you can get before you even start taking any photos. Close cupboard doors, hide cleaning equipment and bins, and even toilet paper from the hanger. Hide shoes and general clutter. remove fridge magnets, open blinds and curtains, and also adding fruit bowls or flowers to tables and windowsills and cutlery to dining tables is a really nice touch. Arrange pillows on sofas and be sure to make the beds. Hide children's toys. Close the toilet lid. And also, the time of day is really important to when you take your photos to make the most of natural lighting. I know this isn't always possible, but you should always try and do your best. So, you've staged the property, you've taken great photos, and then you've gone home and you've spent time editing the images. Now it's time to add them to your listing. Now, I would always say that your first photo on your listing should be of the front of the property, but that being said, if the property that you're dealing with has a particularly nice feature, for example, the hallway's got a grand fireplace and an amazing stairwell, beautiful tiles, and it's a feature standout of the property, then there's no problem with putting that as your first photo, but your very next photo should be the front of the property. I also think it's quite important to add all of the ground floor photos together and then all of the first and second floor and so on together as well thereafterwards. It just means that you're leading people through the property as they're looking at the photos. From my experience, the golden number of photos for an average property is about 9. I would definitely not go less than 7, and more than 15 is probably a waste of time unless you've got a specifically large property, but even then 20 is plenty. So the simple answer is yes, you can take photos using your camera phone, but it's not quite straightforward as you might think. Maybe you can use the tips and tricks that I've shared with you here to go away and practice taking photos with your camera phone, and maybe you can start bringing photos in-house and saving yourself a little bit of money. However, don't skimp on the quality of the photos that you're using on your marketing materials. Like I've said before, they are the gateway to your listing, and all the time that you spend creating your floor plans and all of the other assets will be to waste if they're not up to scratch. If you've enjoyed today's video and you found it useful, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It means we can continue creating content like this, and it also helps us grow the channel. Now, until next time, take care.